Good day, everyone. Welcome to Support Saturday Masterclass Edition. And today we have Paula Farris here, and she's going to do our masterclass on product art versus process art. So, okay, Paula, go ahead and take it away.
Hello. I am not an art expert. I will throw that out there right at the start. I have always been creative. My mother was amazing. But she was more of the craft type person rather than the art type person. I've always aspired to be an artist. I have dabbled in painting and sketching, and I'm okay at it, but not like, oh my gosh, let's start an art show with it. I am blessed to live in a apartment community it's called Art Space. And you have to be an artist to live here. And thankfully, I'm a writer, and that counts as art. So we got the permission to move into here. But the community that I live in, we actually have an art gallery. We have a mud room where, for the messy sculpting, painting type stuff. And the apartments are designed to, have the space so that you can be creative. So that is pretty amazing. I'm planning to teach some art classes to children this summer in our mudroom where, well, children are children, and mudroom would work really well. So how many of you are artists? Anybody? Tell us in the chat. Anybody consider yourself an artist?
Not at all.
A lot of people have some art talent, but don't necessarily consider themselves artists. All right, Patricia, good job. What kind of art do you do, Patricia? We have the talent, but we don't really practice it. And then, one day we, get a sketch pad or whatever, we just, start dabbling with it. Oh, that's
I do a lot of stuff. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I do custom design clothing and jewelry, and I have written a book, and I do paintings and stuff like that. So yeah,
awesome.
It's all part of my craft.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Lisa says, I consider myself to be creative, but not an artist. And that is true. There is a difference between being creative and actually being an artist. The artist comes with the talent, wow. Although some would argue that Jackson Pollock, I'm not sure if he's an artist, but people buy his paintings. So, product art versus process art. Who knows what product art is? Can anybody tell me? Short definition.
For me, I can, excuse me. Hello?
Oh, okay, go ahead.
For me, I can say you have some products, but you don't know how to go with it in process. You create already something in your imagination. You have it on the table. Now, you need somebody to deal with you or to guide you. Make like this, it can become a human being, something like that.
Right.
But you have paper, you have scissors, you have this, all of the product, and your wisdom is a product too. But how to deal with, maybe you don't know how to drive with. That's my understanding.
And yes, and when you are dealing with children, you create the product, and then you tell them, this is what we are doing. Do this. And then process art is pretty much the opposite.
Okay.
You don't create a product. You give them supplies, you give them materials, and they create the art. That can be overwhelming, and we will get to that in a minute. So who's team product? Who likes the product art? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah. April. Anyone else? I can't see some of you. So you can drop it in the chat, or we just won't know your vote. Who's team process? All right. So we got a mix here. Now we talked a little bit. Yes, process art is where it's at. We talked a little bit about what they are. I'm going to share my screen. If I can remember how to do it. Nope, not that one. It's on here. I know that. How about if I go out of full screen? Okay, here we go. Nope.
You muted yourself, Paula.
Sharing screen is not my forte. It's this screen. If I share it, okay. And then we are going to move you and make you a presentation. Wait, nope. There we go. Okay. Product art versus process art. We have our little cows here. This one's all nice and polished, and this one is like, I can kind of see that's a cow. And product art, the actual definition, is art produced with a specified set of supplies and materials to match a specified sample of the desired result. Process art is art produced with a variety of materials, sometimes provided by the teacher or artist, and sometimes chosen by the artist, that represents the artist's perspective of a certain subject or no subject at all. And these are product art examples. A lot of times with product art, the teacher has to prepare. The students may have cut out these paper strips, but it looks like these leaves, for the most part, were cut by someone with more mature scissor skills. This one maybe not. So, and then of course, this is just the little pond drawn with a marker, and then it looks like some stickers. And then of course the paper tearing, which is an excellent skill for small children. But someone still provided a sample of a penguin and they reproduced it. And then of course, process art. If you sent this home for, I don't know, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, whatever holiday, as oh, we did some art for your gift. So mom's gonna go, that's nice. So a lot of times we will fall into the trap of, well, it's got to look like a card. It's got to look like, you know, something that the parent can recognize as, oh, my child made a penguin, rather than, oh, my child splattered some paint on a page. And yet we do have Jackson Pollock, who splattered paint on a page or a canvas and sold for millions of dollars. So is it art? I guess you have to answer that question. Now we'll get to this slide in a minute. We'll go back to here. So I took an art class last semester, and the teacher gave us the pieces of a cow that we had to cut out. And then she told us that we had to glue it together just like this. Is that a cow? Lisa's tilting her head. Exactly. Is this A snowman. Did you all do your homework? Sharice didn't, but good job, Lisa. If you were to tell your students to make the snowman, it would look something like this. But what you're going to get back is probably something like this. Probably, depending on the age of the student, even more open to interpretation. Little children are great artists. I believe that they can all actually develop that skill of being an artist. But when we give them those products and say, create this, they don't necessarily see it the way that we see it. Or as they're trying to produce it, they, put the circles for their snowman out of order. And then you either have the, oh, teacher, I messed up, I need another one. Or, oh, that looks kind of cool. Oh, I'm going to put the arm backward too. Sometimes you will get the student who knows, the large circle goes on the bottom, the middle one, and they can follow it exactly, and it pretty much looks exactly like what you did. But then you get, anywhere in between. And students tend to compare themselves a lot with other students. And when their art doesn't look like Johnny's art or Sally's art, they may not voice it, but kind of inside of them, they're like, I don't know, did I do it right? And it can harm their self-esteem. So there are actually 4 stages of the creative process, and this is a lot of words. I'm going to give you the slides that you can read later. But there is the preparation stage, where you're gathering the paintbrushes, the easel, the paint, you're daydreaming about what your painting is going to look like, maybe researching the topic. You're preparing to create art. Students, especially the little ones, don't spend a whole lot of time in the preparation stage unless they are given free access to art materials. One of my dreams in life is to have a atelier like they have in the Reggio Emilia system, which is a separate room, which is basically an art studio. And I'm going to have, paint and paper and pipe cleaners and scissors and, you name it. I've got a list of materials that I'm going to give you in my slides. And the students will basically have free reign. If they are in the middle of a project or that we're learning about science and one of them gets inspired to go and create art, I'm pretty much going to let them, because a lot of times they will process what they are learning through the availability of those materials. And I don't know if you've studied the Reggio Emilia, Emilio? Anyway, that system. But the students create some amazing things. And it's basically because they are given access to and permission to use the art supplies. So after the preparation stage, we do the incubation stage, which is kind of like an egg before it hatches. It's, kind of growing inside, and the idea just kind of sits there. And then it breaks out into this grand plan of what you're going to create. And for little students, the preparation and incubation, kind of happen like this. They're like, oh, I see paint, I see paper. Ooh, I'm going to, and then they just start creating. For the older students, this may take a bit. In the illumination stage, the shell breaks and the idea is born. You have the clarity, you know exactly what you're going to create. And you move forward, making that a reality. And then the verification stage, after the creation is finished, you display it somehow. You read the poem, you show the sculpture, you demonstrate how the invention works. And that is the exciting part, obviously. The creation part is kind of like, okay, I gotta get this, I gotta get this. We're going to talk about some of those skills that are developed right here. the benefits of process art. Of course, we talked about creativity. You know, children can take an idea, you know, we're studying about photosynthesis, and I, you know, get a different colors of paper, and, you know, start with the white and a darker white, and you know, and then we get green, and look, this is what happens, you know, and you know, to some people you would look at it and be like, what? But to the student, they're showing, I processed that lesson. I know that the sun and the leaf work together to create the green. You know, they're processing. So the creativity, obviously. Fine motor skill development. When you're doing product art, usually, especially with the little ones, your pieces are sizable. You're not going to give them the little, you know, put this little tiny dot right here, you know, because you got a class of, you know, 10, 12 students, and you all have to finish this project in a certain amount of time, and you need it to move, you know, we don't have time to wait for, you know, the child who struggles with the fine motor to, you know, get that little thing exactly where it goes. But with the process art, you know, they've got access to all of the tools and the materials, and they can, you know, if they want to use the hole puncher, if they want to use those little things that the hole puncher produces and, you know, create a picture, go for it. Fine motor skills all day long. And confidence. I made confidence a little bit bigger, because when a child has the opportunity to create, to simply produce something out of nothing, it might not look like much to us, but to them, it's their masterpiece. And of course, you're going to have some children who produce masterpieces every single day, sometimes several times a day. But it's building their confidence, because they are taking something from here and producing it here where everyone can see it and people can comment on it. And, you know, hopefully as a teacher, we've learned, you know, oh, Johnny, I love the color you used for that. Or, you know, oh, that's so big. Look at that. You did it. That's almost as tall as you. And, you know, things like that, rather than what is it? Try not to ask a child, what is it? Because, you know, to them, it's obviously the Eiffel Tower. I mean, you know. And of course, along with confidence comes the independence. They are able to take what they want to do and produce it without the teacher saying, oh, I think that should go right there. If you're making this, then it, you know, the children don't need any of that. They've got their own idea and they can produce it. Literacy skills. I thought that was an interesting benefit. How does process art produce literacy skills? Well, children obviously like to talk. Sometimes they'll get in the zone and just kind of shut everyone out. But, you know, a lot of times you'll hear, you know, look what I did with this. And I used that to make this color. And, ooh, that's awesome. Can I do that too? They will, you know, have the conversation practice. Plus they will learn words like atelier and sculpture and, you know, the vocabulary that goes along with art. Creative thinking, I put that one sideways because, well, creative thinking, you have to produce something. You have to, you know, out of nothing. It's just got to flow from you somehow. And then the problem skills, cognitive development, problem solving skills. Art doesn't always go the way we want it to. Children might, you know, want orange, but they end up with purple. They might have wanted to put a piece in one place, but they put it in a different one. How are they going to solve those problems? Of course, as the teacher, you could swoop in and say, oh, let's do it this way. Or, you know, if you mix this and this, you'll get. But they can figure it out. They can look around, you know, oh, look, he mixed red and blue and got purple. I think I'll try that. And they may not voice these, obviously, as small children, but they're solving the problems. They're finding a different way. You know, if they build the tower so tall and it falls over, what do I need to do? How can I fix this? As the teacher, you can offer some suggestions, you know, I've noticed that tall buildings have really big bases. They've, on the bottom, they've got a really big, I wonder if that would help you. But try to resist the urge to ever tell them exactly how to solve the problem, because that cognitive development, I can do this, I can do this. And then when they get up, into algebra and calculus and physics, they're gonna be like, you know what? I remember when I was 5 years old, this happened. And then the sensory experience. With product art, you've usually got paper and glue and you're putting things together. Sometimes you'll have paint. Sometimes, you might be drawing a picture or coloring. But if you have access to clay and glue and paint and, all kinds of, what do they call? Pipe cleaners, the fuzzy things, all this stuff that you can feel and, you can smell, there's even scented glue and scented Play-Doh and you want to get really creative, you can even make edible Play-Doh. But it involves all those sensory experiences. Excuse me. Even children who don't seek the sensory experiences, to have that sensory opportunity, it helps them in the cognitive development and all of the other skills that they need to develop. And of course, I forgot to make a slide for it, but product art sometimes is not developmentally appropriate. Like I pointed out, do they know which circle is the largest? They might, but if they haven't learned that skill yet, you're going to get something like this. But trying to force them to put things exactly where they need to be in the correct order with the right amount of glue so that it looks just like mine is not developmentally appropriate. Giving them a piece of paper and some paint and some sequins and some ribbon and allowing them to create something is developmentally appropriate, because they learn how to use the tools, develop the skills, and it benefits them that way. And again, these are a lot of words, but I will give you the slides. Just a few tips. Always have a variety of materials on hand. I mentioned the atelier with all of the materials displayed. But if you're having an actual art session, don't necessarily open the door to all of the art supplies, because as Joy says, a confused mind always says no. Present them with, maybe a dozen, put them out on the table and, see what you can create. Sometimes if you've been studying something, trees, for example, let's see who can, what kind of trees can we create? Sometimes instead of creating the tree, Johnny's going to create a train because Johnny wanted to create a train. But, that's his right. He's got the artistic license to do that. Children don't always need prompts, but if you are studying a certain subject, it's, can we make Christmas trees today? How about snowmen? Oh, look, the leaves outside are changing. What can we do? How can we make that in art? Just suggestions. And some of the children will go with it. Some of the children will create some amazing springtime or fall landscape type pictures. And then, of course, some of them will create Jackson Pollock art. If you're not familiar with who Jackson Pollock is, Google him, because his art is interesting. Always, of course, have the basics: paper, crayons, pencils, colored pencils, markers, glue sticks, clay, Play-Doh, and scissors. That way, if they just get the urge to take notes on what you are talking about, then they can go and create, their drawing of a volcano or a dinosaur, or, pick a theme. And if you have studied an artist or an art style in your class, if you're studying Monet, if you're studying pointillism, if you're studying surrealism, if display those kinds of art down where the students can see them well. And mention, if you see a student, putting little tiny dots. Oh, look at, you're using pointillism. That's awesome. See this painting over here? I already talked about having famous artwork in your classroom, and talk about the artists and their art styles, and either answer the children's questions or research the answers together. When I talk about artists, not, obviously, there's Monet, there's Michelangelo, there's Van Gogh, Rembrandt, we've all heard the names. But what about your neighbor who produces beautiful landscape paintings, or, the art gallery downtown that, has some exhibit that you saw that's like, oh my gosh, that seascape would just, could I possibly borrow one of your paintings for my classroom? There's artists everywhere. And yes, some people have sold their art for quite a bit of money, but they're not the, oh my gosh, we all have to attain to be Monet. Find artists and share them with your classroom. Maybe you could have some of them come in and teach an art class about how they do their art. Make sure they are good with children, though. Work with the children, even if you aren't very good, or if you're unfamiliar with the medium. Sit down and grab the clay and make a sculpture, and it might look like a blob. It might look amazing. But, show them that you're not afraid to create also. And allow as much time as art projects as you can. Maybe even coming back to them for several days, because, the creative process doesn't just, happen like that. They might get through the first 2 stages, I forget what they are, but they're in the notes. They might, be able to start real fast, but the actual process of creating what it is that they want to create, might not happen in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So give them the time that they need. And of course, avoid the trite praise. Oh, that's really pretty. Really? Say, find something, practice even ahead of time. Oh, wow, the way that you blended the red and the blue to make purple, that is incredible. Wow, that is a great skill. And look at this, how you blended, or how you drew these branches on the tree. I can actually see that they are tree branches. Maybe something a little better than that, but you get the idea. Here are some ideas. Just the pointillism, the little painting with the little dots. You would need paint brushes and paint, Q-tips, markers, crayons, colored pencils. How many ways can you make a dot? Can we make dots with the markers? Can we make dots with the colored pencils? Ooh, do they look different? Can you make a dog with your dots? Can you make an ice cream cone with your dots? Ooh, Johnny made an ice cream cone and put chocolate chips on it. Look at that. And what happens when you make paint splash? Did I mention that this can be messy? Do this one outside. Or if you have a mud room, go for it. But put paint in a bowl or a tray or something. Splash it with marshmallows. Hit it with the paintbrush. How does that affect it? Ping pong balls versus golf balls. Which one splashes more? How about bouncy balls? What else can you splash? If you really want to get crazy, splash water balloons into your paint. Obviously, put out a very large tarp, put the work right in the middle of it, and try to control the mess. But, you know, use water-soluble paint and a water hose when you're done. And there's nature painting. Make paint and paintbrushes out of the things that you find outside. You can make brushes with the sticks and the grass and the twigs and the pine needles, and even pine cones could be used as a paintbrush. You can make paint out of the soil, crushed up flowers or leaves, crushed up berries. Watch them that they don't eat the berries or the flowers for that matter. I guess I'm not used to talking this long. But yeah, paint can be made out of lots of things. And then painting and movement. Paint while jumping or dancing or crawling or spinning. One of my dreams is to have a hula hoop hanging from the ceiling with canvases hanging from it, and then have the child stand in the middle and be able to just swirl around and paint. I'm obviously going to be hiring cleaners in my preschool. And as I said, process art can get messy. Teach your class some rules. Teach them at the beginning of the school year and reinforce them often. Teach them how to respect their classroom, how to respect their tools, and how to respect other people's projects. Because if Johnny's going crazy with the paint and Sally's got her sculpture over here, she probably doesn't want to add an extra layer of color. Save the really messy projects for later in the year when the children have had a chance to learn how to act and how, you know, how to clean up, how to control their messy supplies. And of course, like I said, if possible, work on the art outside. Warn your parents, especially when you're going to be doing something particularly messy. And, you know, sending an email is great, but sending an email and a letter and a text and maybe even a phone call to those parents who like to dress their children like little fashion models. Hey, we're gonna be, and if all else fails, have some smocks or some oversized t-shirts or, you know, something to at least try to protect the clothing. And be careful with your attitude, because if your words and actions are more on edge, you know, oh my gosh, this is going to be so messy. Oh, I hope we can clean this up in time. Be careful, be careful. The children are going to pick up on that tension, and either the project isn't going to be as enjoyable for them as it could have been, or they're, you know, kind of got to rise to the, oh, she's stressed, I am too. And then the mess goes everywhere. So there's my warning for you. Here is a list of supplies. I broke it down into categories. Paint and supplies. There's way more than just paint, obviously. Different kinds of tape, different kinds of clay, and different kinds of paper. Have you ever drawn with oil pastels on sandpaper? That's pretty cool. And actually, with the sandpaper, you can have the different grits, you know, the really rough one and the really fine one, and it produces different designs. And here's just the miscellaneous. A lot of these can be gotten very cheaply, say at the dollar store, or local businesses may donate coffee stirrers, for example. You know, go to your local coffee shop and, hey, I'm doing an art project with my preschool class. I was wondering if I might be able to, and you know, it's likely that you can get some of them donated. I just noticed a typo. Oh my gosh. Oh no, I'm going too far. How in the world did I get all the way over there? There we go. When it comes to storing all of these, unless you have a very large space, plastic bins, those office boxes, you know, the cardboard boxes that are white with black lettering, and you fold them together and they stack very nicely on top of each other. If you're doing art all the time, you can try to organize them into some kind of, you know, this is all of the fabric and ribbon and yarn, and this is all of the tools, and this is all of the so forth and so on. Obviously, the sticks, twigs, leaves, berries, you know, those are in the moment. You're not going to be wanting to store berries in your classroom for very long unless you want mold. Feathers can be found outside, or you can buy them. Actually, I found the multicolored feathers at the dollar store for $1.25. That is about all I have. I do have the rest of my slides here. I took my art class last spring, and I produced this for that class. So you are welcome to scroll through them. And I had to write about my process and what I was thinking and so forth and so on. And there are a lot of slides here. But you know, it might be interesting if you're interested in that. But here is my finished product for that class. I had to use what I could find around my house and produce a cow. And that is what I produced. And the little purple ears that I had have disappeared, sadly. But you'll see in the slides how important those purple ears were to me. But it was a very fun project because it kind of got me into the mind of a child. You know, the child is presented with a pile of stuff, and how do I make a cow out of this? So I would challenge you to do that. Just gather up a bunch of supplies, and they don't necessarily even have to be art supplies. You know, the whisk from your kitchen, or, you know, whatever you have, and create a cow, or, you know, the Eiffel Tower, or whatever it is you want to create, and see what you can do with what you have, because it helps you to understand that thought process. All right. Do you ladies have any questions? Comments, complaints?
Any questions, ideas?
It's really good presentation. I learn again more because I was looking forward to learn about craft since last week, but I did not get time to go to the library to learn about. The way I get this, you give me more idea how to do again more with the kids.
Awesome. Awesome.
We will need some copies. You can send us some copies for this training you did.
Yes, I'm going to share. Actually, I'm going to put it right here in the chat. The link to my Google Drive. I actually have I've got the little cow from your homework, if you didn't do your homework, or not the cow, the snowman. And I also have a brochure that I created about process versus project art, if you want to print it out and show that to your families.
Yes.
Families can get a little, you know, why does Johnny keep coming home with the black paint on yellow paper? He's done it like 3 weeks in a row now. What's going on? Do you do art in your class? That's Johnny's art. He is producing black paint on yellow paper, and, you know, we were studying bumblebees 3 weeks ago. Perhaps that's what started the trend.
Sorry about.
I think I'm going to take a vow of silence for the rest of the day.
Sorry.
Thank you so much, Paula. Anybody else? Any ideas, thoughts that you want to add?
Paula, I think I just want to thank you for this. This was very timely because although I've always known, I guess I've known a lot about process and product art over the years, but I've always been in a classroom and used used a lot of process art. However, now that I'm teaching online, I've kind of met with a new challenge where I send things, I send material because I send materials out each month for my students to have, materials kits out for the students to have things for when we're in class together. And I find that a new challenge has been the parents wanting to help the child, do it a certain way. And I love the fact that you put a brochure in there, because I'll definitely be using that, because I was just thinking over the holidays, okay, I need to be looking up something about the whole process versus product. Just because, I'm always saying, okay, so moms, they can do whatever they want to. It's not about what, but then I've got one mom in particular that's always like, and the kid's like, let me do it. And you're like, this is not the,
Yes, I have been there when I did online. Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm like, yeah. So yeah. I thank you for that.
But it's also a teachable moment for the parents too at that moment, where you can also just say, totally. This is what I'm looking for at this moment, see. Right. So yes, exactly. I'm glad there's a brochure in there. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely been a learning curve for me too, because like I said, when I was in the classroom all those years, I didn't have that parent there that was, trying to jump in and help the student. And you're like, no, that's not the point of this activity.
Right.
So it's, yeah. Anyway, thank you, Paula.
You're welcome.
Sally, your hand is raised. Do you have a question in regards to this?
No, I just wanted to interject an experience that I had teaching preschool for 12 plus years. We did a lot of process art where, for instance, had the kids string paint a big piece of paper in any way they wanted, marble paint, or blowing bubbles and having it pop on the paper. And then afterwards, after you've got all these different kinds of processes that they've made, add small motor by having something that they cut out of it, put some lines, thick line on there for them to cut shapes or something else. And sometimes we even made 3D things out of the process art. But so that way they're getting to experience using all those materials and gaining small motor control. Plus they can turn it into something.
Right.
Yep.
Those are some of my favorites too.
I also forgot to mention, if you find interesting things, I don't really know what this is, a bulletin board border, maybe, but it's got such interesting shapes, and then it's got the gold shine. Be sure to include those in your art supplies, because children will just go wild. Little piece of fake flower here. Having just had Christmas, save things like this, because to you it looks like a wadded up piece of tissue paper that needs to go in the garbage can. But there's the paper tearing, ooh, that was fun. I think I'll do it again, you know. And yeah, they might make a mess, but you know, teach them the life skills of how to clean up those messes. And
Mhm.
get good. But yeah, there's all kinds of things that can just be informed.
Yes, awesome. Anything else, ladies, before we close out our masterclass? Any other questions, ideas, or for her? Ooh,
Bubble wrap
yes,
prints, and then
yes.
texture prints, and then like you were saying, cut them out and use them for something.
Yeah.
Yes, wrapping paper. I know last year I had wrapping paper that I ended up putting in the art area after Christmas for them to use. So,
Yeah, this is a great idea to get, or a great time of year to get supplies.
right.
Um,
Anything else, ladies?
I think maybe is it just a suggestion to get some training over the art, the way she knows some stuff, to get some training for some weeks or months, and later to get a certificate over. Because the first, when she began, she asked who knows about art. We were quiet. When she entered into process, some they remember what they used to do. But it's somewhere we need again more. We know something, but we need again more training on this, because art also is good with kids, even ourselves. I know art from far, but different in different angle, but I did not know deeply the way they are doing from here. Here, I really appreciate all the process they used to do with kids. That's why I was more interested on this, you see. But for me, I need more training about the hard process. And then later you give us some under preschool system, and then you give us some trainings. Because what we are doing, we are not doing only for ourselves. Maybe one day we will be next by Miss Cherries. Today, I'm in your class, like a workshop, like a training with kids, like a teaching kids. We cannot be just ourselves in our own house because I have preschool. One day we will make a turn to know what we are doing between us, like a big workshop to meet and teach this and that. That is
Yes.
me. I'm thinking about something. It's just now.
All
I've
right.
actually thought about something like that. We'll talk to Joy and see what we can come up with.
Right. All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much, Paula, for that great presentation. I really enjoyed it. It was a great reminder of like when I have my center of what I want it to look like. That's one of the reasons why I want to get out of my house, because I like messy art in my house. It makes it very hard for me to have the kids be messy. I notice that it's making me like, oh, don't do that. But when I'm in a classroom outside of my house, I'm like, okay, fine. So that's one of the reasons why I need to get out of my house, because I enjoy messy art. I enjoy kids getting messy with art. I like enjoy it, and I feel like that part of me is stunted in my house because I have carpet and stuff. So, all right, thank you again, Paula, for that great presentation.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.